let's hop in with wants and needs. Does anybody have any wants and needs?
I've got a house in American Fork that needs to be sold, so I need a buyer.
Well, that doesn't give us a lot of info. Tell us more about it.
It's 4 beds, 3.5 baths. It sits on almost an acre, 0.94. It's almost 4,000 square feet. So it's a super nice home, well maintained, taken care of, and everything.
Cool.
Just around the corner from the junior high in American Fork.
Okay, I am listing a home tomorrow that has a basketball court inside, and I need somebody that needs a basketball court inside. It's in North Salt Lake, 10 minutes away from the airport, and beautiful home. So if you know anyone that's looking for an indoor basketball court, I got one.
Brian Crawley.
I know, right?
I've got a couple listings I need to get sold. One's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo at Daybreak. It is out of litigation, so it can sell. It's 180. They just moved out and painted, and it's in good shape.
What's the HOA on that?
Let me look that. It's high. It's almost
Yeah.
500. If you count the quarterly master HOA, you're looking at almost 500 a month.
Wow.
They were moving in with family and it didn't show well. And now that I convinced them to move in with family and clean it up, it shows well. Just a minute and I'll tell you.
How are you going to sell that? I mean, as a pitch, how are you going to pitch that high HOA fee? Do they get a decent return on it?
They get a ton of amenities, a ton. They're building a second lake not too far from where this one's located. It's lifestyle. You got to pitch lifestyle if you're going to be spending that much on an HOA. It's $364 a month for the sub HOA, and then it's $394 quarterly. So add another $125, $130 to the $364. Yeah, it's pushing $500 a month. So, but all of them out there are that have a sub HOA. If they're a single family home not attached, then they're only paying the master HOA.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is out of litigation, which is a big deal.
That's huge. Anybody else have any wants and needs? All right, you guys think about celebrations for the week, anything that went really well for you in your business that you want to share, or some cool things that happened. We'd love that while I read off the closings for the week. Focus group, Jessica Williams, Donnelly Penrod, Brian England, Hive Collective, closed 2, Mike Waldvogel, Courtney Tetrick, Robert Jensen, Mandy Jones, Sherry Barker, she's on the call today, Chelsea Funk, Barbie Schramm, Amy Harris, Dream Estates, which was Dalton Savage, Jill DeHoyas, Mary King, Ludi Zabetti, Kenny Sperry, Angie Veers, I'm struggling, Robin Roberts, and Michelle Toyne. So way to go for the closers of the week. Does anybody have any celebrations they want to talk about this week?
I do.
Oh, great.
Me and Jeff, you're like struggling, like anyone? We don't have the buyer yet, but we've had this meat plant and this home in Fairview, and it looks like we've got 3 interested buyers. So that's a plus, especially in this market, and especially trying to sell a meat packing plant.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. I've known about that one for a while, so good work.
We're hoping, but yeah, we've got 3 solid. We fill 3, but any interest is good, especially in this market. So I'm totally thrilled.
Heck yeah. Anybody else have any celebrations for the week? Okay, I'm going to jump right into the broker moment. Today we're talking about the contingent cancellation form. I would like for anyone to tell me why we would want the contingent cancellation form other than any other cancellation. Here is this form, and here's the reason why. And I want you guys to know that this exists. Let me pull this open wide. If you have a deadline coming up, and have you guys ever had that day where it's 2 o'clock on the day of your deadline, like your due diligence or your financing appraisal, and your clients say something to you like, you know, we're just not so sure about this or that, and you're going, you gotta be kidding me. I don't have any way to say this is our cancellation right now if you still want to move forward, right? So the contingent cancellation gives you that opportunity. So essentially what you're saying to the seller or the buyer's agent is, if you don't accept this by 5 p.m. today at our deadline, consider this our cancellation. So that's right here in section 2. If the seller does not accept these terms of this addendum and its entirety by the applicable deadline provided below, essentially this shall act as the buyer's notice of cancellation pursuant to the, and then we can say by due diligence or financing contingency. And then down here it talks about unless so accepted, the Rep C shall be deemed canceled and provide earnest money deposit back to the buyer without any further written authorization from the seller. So this form is so awesome, you guys, to protect you when those deadlines get really close and tight, rather than you sending over an addendum saying, we'd like this to be repaired, answers back in 2 hours, and if not, you know, it's just too dangerous. So you want to make sure that you protect your client's money at all costs. I've been doing this 16 years and I've never once lost someone's earnest money. And I believe that it's because there's things like this out there that protect us from that. So I want you all to get very familiar with this form and know that that's what you can use if you have to somehow make sure your client's earnest money is safe. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions on that? Wendell.
Jen, when do you initiate that? Is it at the in the beginning when the Rep C's, I mean, when you submit the offer, or when the contract's going, or at a certain point when you see that you're not going to hit your deadline?
That's when it is, Wendell. Is so you know, obviously we want, if we put something under contract, we want it to go smoothly and go forward. But sometimes our clients, I had a time where I was on the beach in Cancun on vacation, and it was the day of their due diligence deadline, and all of a sudden my clients, as I'm sitting on the beach, call me and say, Jen, we're just not so sure about this house. And it was literally an hour before the deadline. And I was freaking out to the point that it ruined my vacation that day. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm on the beach. I'm trying to figure out how to put this all together. And getting this signed quickly, okay, sign this really quick so I can get this over to them to let them know, if you don't accept this by 5 p.m., this is our cancellation, which was a couple things they wanted. We just want this or that. And it was like, no, you can't do this at 2 hours right before the deadline. And so in order to protect my client's earnest money, I had to send this addendum over to make sure that we could say, if you don't accept this by 5 p.m., sorry, you only have two minutes to accept this contract cancellation. It at least protected my client's earnest money. So I want you to not be afraid of this in terms of a cancellation, because what happens if the seller then says after the deadline, well, we probably would have accepted that, but this says you canceled. What do you do? Anyone have an idea?
Reinstate contract.
Go ahead, Kim.
Reinstate the contract.
Yes, you can use the reinstatement of contract form, which is also on the MLS. So, okay, great. Well, at least my client's earnest money is protected. Otherwise, you know, people can play games with you. Well, we're not even responding by 5. That type of thing. So you just want to make sure your job, your fiduciary duty is to your clients and to protect their earnest money. Steve, did you have something to say about it?
I was just going to say what a great form this is. And the reason why these forms come from UAR through the forms committee is because we have such litigation and such problems with agents handwriting these same things. And that's what we've seen through the many years, is they're handwriting, you know, these things, and then they're holding no weight at all, because it's just an addendum, right? And we're acting almost as an attorney writing this kind of stuff up. So it's really cool that they came out with this form so that we can utilize this to protect our clients. And you don't have to try to make up the wordage and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So these types of addendums are really, really important to use. So.
Absolutely. And I actually believe that not a lot of realtors know this is out there. And so they scramble at these deadlines, and sometimes they put their clients' earnest money at risk. So we need to understand what forms are out there to benefit us. So thank you, Steve.
Hey, Jen.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make note not to confuse that form, which I agree is an amazing, wonderful form to protect your client, but not to confuse that one with the buyer's notice of cancellation of the contract.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
Those are totally different. You're canceling, not giving them a chance to comply with the due diligence request. And if they don't, then cancel. They're two different forms.
Thank you so much, Carrie, and great point. Okay, I'm going to move on just because of time. Let's see. I wanted to make sure everybody remembered that all our classes are Zoomed right now, and the Division of Real Estate has come down and said on the CE classes that they will only allow 30 to sign in to get credit. So that is why we are forcing you to register for our CE classes. And of course, we want Presidio agents to have those seats first. And so that's why we give you that opportunity. So what that means is you have to send Yvonne an email that says, I want to be on this class and get the CE credit for it. The other part of it is that you have to be in the class at 9:45 if it starts at 10. You can't log in at 10:05 and expect to get CE credit. They will not give it to you. So the rules for the class will be emailed to you with the password as soon as you register with Yvonne. Okay, May 4th, we have Presidio Champions class, setting up the ultimate SOI with Steve Parry and Brian Crawley. May 5th, we have Raising the Bar, making your contracts bulletproof with Jeff Montgomery. May 6th, we're going to be talking about group health benefits, dental, disability, insurance, telehealth, ID protection, etc. His name is Clint Waite that will be teaching that, and that's something that Presidio is bringing to you guys is some group health benefits. So if you're interested in that, be on there. May 7th, where to spend your marketing dollars on social media. That is Chantel Reitz, and I believe that's CE. Is it, Steve? Not sure.
Yes, it's
Okay.
CE. Yes.
Perfect. So make sure you register with Yvonne on that one. Also, the ABR designation is May 26th through 29th. That's 14 hours of CE. So you will have to sign up and pay for both classes at CherylKnows.com. That's CherylKnows.com. Cheryl Knows. Don't forget, we're doing headshots the first Wednesday of every month from 11:30 to 12:30. Do not bring anyone with you. No kids get to come with you. Be on time and be prepared. They're going to do them every 10 minutes. And so it will just be you alone, not having to worry about being around a lot of people. Schedule with Yvonne. The Wednesday next week will be the first Wednesday we start doing it again. And there's only 3 spots left. So if you need a new updated headshot, please come in and get it. All right, is Mike Johnson from Silverback Warranty on?
I am here.
Great. Give us our 1-minute home warranty.
I just want to remind everybody right now we're emailing all of your clients that have home warranties with us. We're doing our May air conditioner. I forgot the word. What do we call it? We're just it's a checkup on their air conditioners.
Tune-up.
And so we're emailing all your clients. But if you guys need a reason to call some of your clients and just remind them to get a hold of us, we can set up an appointment to have someone go out there and just make sure their air conditioners are working good before they need them. You can have them call me. My number is 801-869-0756. Or you can have them call our toll-free number 833-750-6400, and we'd be glad to help with that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike.
Thank you.
I love having a home warranty that on my rental properties that every year I can get my AC tuned up and it just prolongs the life of that AC. So that's a great service that you guys provide. Okay, the Mortgage Minute with Melanie Swenson. Are you on, Melanie?
I am.
Okay,
Yeah, thanks for
take it away.
And so this morning I was reading the topic. It looks like Steve Parry is going to be speaking about how to keep everyone out of jail, keep everyone safe. And so I thought I would kind of touch on that on my mortgage moment on how we keep our mutual clients safe from avoiding them from accidentally or sometimes unfortunately purposely committing loans. The 3 things that that we see most commonly with wanting to keep our clients safe is occupancy. The interest rate, as you all know, is much lower on an owner occupied versus an investment property. And so we do have times where, someone will go, well, what if I moved in for a few months? Or right now, the current requirement is that they need to occupy for a full 12 months. After that 12 months, they are welcome to, leave the residence and, of course, live wherever they would like. But at closing, they do sign a document that goes through and just explains that their intent at the time is to live in that property for 12 given months. One thing that was really interesting happened to my dad actually earlier this week. It was kind of a random thing that I thought I would share. He got a call from a good friend, and his good friend was had sold his home, buying a new home, and his lender said, oh, well, with your truck payment, you don't qualify. And so if you could get someone to buy your truck for a few weeks, then you can buy it back from them. We just can't qualify you with this truck. So my dad called myself and my husband, and it ended up, the lender asked the realtor to talk to my dad and explain the situation. Well, when I told my dad, well, Dad, there's 4 people that would be unsafe in that transaction, which would be, of course, the lender for encouraging that to happen, to hide debt. And then secondly, my dad, unknowingly thinking he's just helping a friend out, he would be committing loan fraud, and that might jeopardize his freedom there. And then, of course, the realtor not really understanding maybe the depth of their involvement. And so there would have been a total of 4 people harmed out of that possible transaction. So the best way to always put our best foot forward to keep everyone safe is just do all the common sense stuff. If they are buying a home that looks like something they would never leave their current home for to be a permanent or primary home, we'll be looking at that. But I believe Steve is going to go into quite a bit of detail. I'm curious to see what he has on the topic today. I'm going to stay on and listen.
Awesome. Thank you, Melanie. If everyone knows Melanie, she's too bad we can't see her face, but she is at Security Home Mortgage. So we're going to move on. I'm so excited to introduce Steve Parry for this topic because he is ultimately the #1 source of finding this information out. He works up at the division. He's on the executive board up there. And I'm sorry, Salt Lake board, I apologize. But this guy has been in industry. He's been a broker, all sorts of, you know his resume. He knows how to stay out of the division newsletter. So I'm so excited to turn the time over to Steve. You are going to want to take your pens and papers out and take notes about everything that he's teaching you today. So Steve, go right ahead.
All right. Thank you, Jen. So one of the things that I like to do quarterly is I like to go over the division newsletter and talk about some of the fines that have been given out. And then let's just have a discussion on what you guys think of this. There's some good ones in this last quarter. If you guys do take a look at it, a lot of times people look on it and just quickly scan through the names, see if they know somebody, and just what I'm always proud of is our company's not in there, right? That's the best thing, right? So there's just some basic stuff we're going to talk about, simple stuff, but then we're going to go into some of these cases that are just crazy what people are trying to get away with, right? So let's start with just simple stuff. People failing to disclose their past criminal history. Now, they define criminal history as little things, misdemeanors, not felonies. We're talking things that when they renewed their license or when they applied for their license, they just didn't disclose it all. So the division wants you to disclose everything, okay? They want to know it all at the beginning, right? Little traffic citations, it tells you don't have to disclose, right? So if you get a speeding ticket, you don't have to disclose that. So, but some of these, like here's one, an agent in Midvale. I try not to say the names of these agents. So, but he got in trouble for advertising his real estate services without identifying his brokerage affiliation. But instead identified a marketing entity that is not registered with the division. Okay, and he got fined $500. So basically, he may have done his team name and didn't do like Presidio real estate. It wasn't in it, right? So it makes it a blind ad. And so him thinking that you could do like the Steve Parry team or something in the advertisement is not good enough, right? Because when they get checked on, my team name's not registered with the division, right? And so you have to have your brokerage name there in all your advertisements. The logo's got to be there. And do you guys remember the new rule on what it's supposed to be, how big the font has to be and all that?
No size anymore. It just has to be on there.
It has to be readable, right? That's what it says. It just has to be readable. Okay. So it's kind of in a gray area. Can you read it with glasses or without glasses? I don't know. But that's what we're told. So that's what we go by. All right. Here's another one that says, let me think. Let me find this good one here.
And while you're looking for that, I'll just speak to that marketing thing. That's the number one thing that myself as a broker, I call our agents out on all the time, and I obviously do it privately because I'm super concerned. You don't want to be in the newsletter. It just looks bad, and all the other agents that are looking for you to fail are hoping to see your name in there. And so when I see something on Facebook, a post about some new listing coming up or something like that, and there's no mention of Presidio, I instant message everybody. So please don't be offended when I do that for you. I'm trying to keep you out of the newsletter and make sure you understand the division rules.
Yeah, exactly. We're always going to be reminding you guys of these things just constantly, just so that it's top of mind for you guys. There's another one here that talks about, again, this agent placed an advertisement for sale of property. He did not include his name, his brokerage, the fact that he was a licensed agent, or the fact that he was the owner of the property, right? And so he got lucky. He only got a $150 fine, but it was a total blind ad. So you really got to be careful. And if you guys have any questions about your ads, you should run it by one of us brokers and just say, hey, what do you think of this ad? You know, you can send it to us or whatever, or call us or text us, because we'll tell you exactly how it is. Because like Jen said, it's the number one fine that they get. Okay, here's a good one. A principal broker, right? She admitted to having violated the rules which prohibit a license from acting or attempting to act as a limited agent in a transaction involving an entity buying or selling the property, if the licensee is an officer, director, partner, member, employee, or stockholder of that entity. Okay, you can't own the entity, right? In this case, this broker was the sole owner of the entity in selling the property, and she suggested as mitigating factors that the buyer is a licensed sales agent with extensive experience with real estate transactions, meaning that the buyer is just experienced. And excuse me, and the buyer and the broker, they've purchased and sold real estate with each other in the past, neither relying on the other as the principal or agent. So basically, she's saying we've been doing this for a long time together. So anyway, she agreed to pay a $1,000 penalty and complete 3 hours of CE. Okay, and so do you guys get what the problem is on that one? You guys understand it? So she's the owner operator and also the principal broker, and she listed and sold her own properties continually with another agent. Well, like for example, you cannot be the builder and have all your listings. You have to have somebody else legally be your principal broker to be able to sell your properties. Does that make sense? Jen, you might have to read out chats.
Yeah, someone was just asking about presenting their team name and presented by Presidio Real Estate, and I said that's perfect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
great.
or powered by Presidio or something like that. So.
Okay. All right. Here's another one that says, all right, this principal broker, right, in Draper, admitted that he executed a limited agency agreement involving a short sale transaction, and that the local municipality had obtained a lien against the property in the amount of $14,900. Okay. The short sale lender approved closing costs in the transaction, including payment of the lien. All right. The broker represented that there were no funds to pay the lien and negotiated a payment to the municipality of $150 to satisfy the lien. Okay. So the broker is saying there's no money to pay this lien and negotiated $14,900 down to $150. Okay. The title company dispersed funding allocated to pay the full amount of the lien, with 1/2 of the amount paid to the broker and 1/2 paid to the buyer. After the commencement of an investigation by the division, the broker returned the money he had received to the title insurance company, and the title insurance company paid the full amount of the lien to the municipality. The broker's actions in this case were a violation of Utah law and the administrative rules. He agreed to revoke his broker's license and was granted a sales agent license that would be suspended for 1 year and then be placed on probation for an additional 3 years. He will not apply for a broker's license during the period that his license is on probation. In addition, he agreed to pay a civil penalty of $7,500 and complete 6 hours of CE, 3 hours on Utah law and 3 hours on ethics. Okay, so let's break that down. That one, so he knowingly was going to get paid a commission and got paid a commission, and the title got paid their fees, knowing that there was enough money to pay those things, but not the lien. So the lien takes priority, right? It takes priority over your commission. Okay, so you need to, if you're going to engage, and if we start seeing short sales, we will start teaching short sale classes, believe me, because I've done a ton of them through the early 2000s and through 2008. But right now we don't have to really know about them. But what this person did was he lied basically and misrepresented that there were no funds when there were funds on the sale of the property. So when it sold, there was some equity that should have went to pay the lien holders. So he got dinged big time, right? No more principal broker and probation for 3 years and a huge penalty. So you really got to be careful when it comes to dealing in these situations, especially if you're a principal broker, they come down, if you're a broker at all, they come down hard on you because they expect you to know better. And so that's what happened to that one. Any questions or comments on that?
Steve, so in other words, they placed their commissions ahead of paying the lien when they should have paid the lien instead.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And he got hit hard. So, all right. Was there another question or comment?
I was just going to say, one of the other things that happens a lot with short sales like that is these either a straw buyer or somehow they figure out how to represent both sides, which is also not legal when you're doing short sales. The bank will not pay 2 commissions, but I've seen in the past that agents try and figure that out. And again, that's why at Presidio, we try to have really strict rules that we don't practice limited agency for that reason. And things like that, especially on a short sale, you cannot have limited agency on it. So these are things that happen quite often with short sales and things like that.
Yep, exactly. Okay, here's another one where a sales agent admitted that she failed to disclose prior to the execution of a binding purchase agreement her position as a principal in the transaction. She had to pay a penalty of $1,500, okay, and complete 3 hours of CE because she was part owner in the property and she didn't disclose it. All right, here's an agent. I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with Stephen Osler. I'm going to say his name. Because I was his broker at Realty Path, and he was always living on the edge, and he's always living in a gray area. So if you do a transaction with Mr. Osler, be very careful, and let's look at it and talk about it together. In this one, and this is not the first time I've seen him be fined, right? And unfortunately for this gentleman, he looks at it as a cost of business. Because he does around 100 transactions a year, and he just doesn't pay enough attention to what's going on. Okay, so in this particular one, he got fined for advertising in a false, misleading, and deceptive manner. Okay, in addition, his advertising identified his prior brokerage rather than his current brokerage in the misleading advertisement, and he got fined $1,000. Believe me, this guy, the division, is watching all the time, and he's gotten so many complaints. I was so happy when I wasn't his broker anymore. He bounced, honestly, to 3 or 4 different branches within the company because the brokers just didn't want to deal with his shadiness. So not a good situation to ever be in, not a good reputation to build, because this is a small industry.
Well,
Steve,
and once
Go
you
ahead.
get in the newsletter, I think that they start watching you a little bit more. And so again, this is why we try to have best practices at Presidio to make sure you're never in the newsletter.
When the division watches them, how much can they get away with? Say he's been dinged a few times. Why is he still selling real estate when they know he's kind of questionable and a little bit shady? I mean, my moral compass would say he shouldn't be selling anymore, but
Absolutely.
I need to learn from it too. I don't think we should think that we could do it and get away with it and just keep paying penalties.
I totally agree with you. And we are all asking the division the same thing. How does this guy still have his license? And we've even turned him in and as brokers, because if we see one of our agents do something that's totally against the law, we have to do two things. One, we have to take action within our brokerage, and the division looks at us as a company, like, what did you do to discipline your agent, right? And or did you let us know? Because we have to notify. It's our obligation to notify the division when any agent does anything, whether it's our agent or another agent, right? And we are really a self-policing industry. So a lot of the times that's how the agents get caught, is because another agent said, hey, wait a second, this isn't right, and went through the channels to turn them in. Unfortunately, Sherry, the division is backed up, like 8 months backed up with complaints. And so you don't even hear sometimes what happens. You file the complaint and you just move on with life, right? And you just hope that the wheels of justice will do its right thing. They are holding their hearings and they're doing all the things that they're supposed to. There's just so many cases that it's just backed up. The system's backed up.
I almost think that some of the owners of the company should be able to have the ability to strip the license.
Oh, absolutely. We can absolutely inactivate somebody's license, but then all they have to do is go find another company and activate it again.
I've done that once with an agent, probably 8 years ago. She did something very, very shady, and I just immediately inactivated her from my branch. And she came to me and said, I've never had a broker not call me in and talk to me about what I did. And I said, I didn't need to. You knew exactly what you did was completely against the rules and not even close to the Presidio way. So I let her go, and she has since been fired from 3 other brokerages. And she is one of those that currently today still has a license, and it blows my mind. And so I would like to put a plug in for all of us to remember that we police this industry. If you see something wrong, take the time to fill out the complaint form and send it in, because if we continue to do that to the ones that are the bad seeds in the industry, they will get out of it.
Yeah. And I've seen agents too that will unethically ask you to do things that I know you shouldn't be doing. So that's why I was wondering, how are these people still practicing? Because, yeah, okay, yeah. You answered it.
If you guys come across anybody that's questioning anything, like, or you're questioning anything, run it by us, because it falls on the principal broker at the end of the day. It goes branch broker, principal broker, and at the end of the day, we have to decide what's best and what actions to take. And sometimes we'll talk about it and decide whether it's, hey, we need to file a complaint, against this agent, either with the board or with the division. And yeah, you could file a complaint with the UAR as well, because they all have the same judicial system, right? So, but remember, if you file something with your boards, it's going to be administrative, because they're more of educational and not punitive. And so it's a slap on the hand with the board, okay? And if it's serious, if it's against the law, we file it with UAR and the division, or we have the client file those complaints, and we support them with documents and things like that, right? And we testify for them. If the public is filing the complaint, all those entities take it a lot more serious than if it's one agent filing it against another agent. Okay, they take it way more serious when it's the public, because our whole job is to protect the public. And if we're doing things that are harming the public, they come down on us hard for it. Okay, one last one. Principal broker in Sandy, in a stipulated order in February, she admitted that she advertised property available for rent or lease with an option to purchase. At the time the property was listed on the MLS, by another agent not affiliated with this broker, okay? So not even her own agent's property, okay? The advertisement did not identify the name of the listing or the listing agent's brokerage affiliation, and she did not have written permission from the property owner to place the advertisement, okay? So her actions are in violations of Utah law and the rules. She agreed to pay $500 and complete 3 hours of CE. Before renewing her license, right? So this is a principal broker who took somebody else's listing and advertised it without permission. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's a sales agent, a broker or not. You cannot list somebody else's property and not give them credit, saying at the bottom, right, this property is listed by Sherry Barker from Presidio Real Estate, right? It has to have those identities on it, and it has to be one link away. So meaning they click on that and it goes to your listing where you are. They can't have two clicks. You understand what that means, you guys? No, 2 clicks means it clicks on it and it goes to your web page. Then they have to click on it again to go to Sherry's web page. That's against the rules, right? If you're going to advertise somebody else's property, 1, you should always have written permission from the owner or the listing agent. And 2, it has to be 1 click away. Okay?
Question on
So,
that.
what's that, Brett?
Hi, yes, it's Brett. So my question on that is, I understand that we already inherently give rules when we to the IDX feeds, that we give permissions for our listings to go to the IDX feed. So if I have a website that is receiving that IDX information, then that 1 click can go to my website, right?
Technically, yes, because of the rules and the agreements through the MLS, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, that can happen. So 1 click away. All right, other things are just people not reporting their past criminal history and lots more advertisement things happening. But keep in mind that if you have any questions on any of this stuff, just run it by us, because we're here for you and we're here to keep you out of trouble and keep us out of trouble. In none of these did I even read to you that said because the sales agent did this, that the principal broker got in trouble for this, right? And that's because most brokers out there, we try to educate our agents on how to do the rules. If agents aren't coming and attending education classes or participating or being involved in the brokerage, that's when they start to kind of go a little bit rogue, or they start thinking, yeah, I'm pretty sure this was the rule, right? And so that's when problems start to happen. Even if they're accidental problems, you're still going to get fined. The division doesn't care, right? They saw the problem and then they nailed you for it. So if you ever get a letter or an email or something from the division that says to contact them, let your broker know, because we need to know what's going on, and because we need to either provide documents, supporting documents, or help you with that, or at least be aware of what's going on with your situation, okay? So things are going to happen. Mistakes are going to be happening too, but it's not the end of the world, and you don't just lose your license over little things, right? You'll get a fine and you may have to do some CE class, but it's the big stuff that you're really going to get in trouble for. And so we need to know about each situation so that we can keep you all out of trouble. So there you go. Back to you, Jen.
Cool. Who has any, Brett had a good comment about, someone doing 6 months jail time and not just a fine. So you need to remember that, yeah, they put those fines in there in the newsletter, but they also have, some serious jail time and things like that. I know some agents that are currently at the prison have been there since 2008. And that was some loan fraud stuff they did. And sometimes we just kind of have, if you have a question in what you're doing, I want you to ask us and say, hey, what about this? Sometimes things happen that can result in some horrible, jail time, bad fines. You just don't want that type of a reputation following you around. So you want to make sure that you stay educated. I'm so proud of everybody for being on this call. Know what your bounds are as an agent and what you're responsible for, and ask us if you have any questions.
Yeah, so about that, with the loan fraud type stuff, it not only takes an agent it takes a title company and generally a straw buyer and possibly the mortgage lender. So there's several players that make up these Ponzi schemes and loan frauds that have to happen. So if you know that you're dealing with a title company that's questionable, don't work with them. Switch. It's not worth it. I know of one right off the top of my head, and it's like, if as soon as that title company's mentioned, red flags go up, and we have to scrutinize every single paper, every single document, because we know that they're known for doing some shady stuff, or at least working with agents that play in the gray area. And that's not what raising the bar is all about, right? So we want to keep our agents out of trouble and keep them out of that situation.
So since we have about 20 minutes left, let's talk about anything you've seen, any questions you have, any topics you want to bring up on, being compliant and those types of things.
So I have a question. I heard last week that you're supposed to reach out to the agent, the listing agent, if it's not with Presidio, make sure that it's okay to share their listing before you list it, even if you're giving them credit. I'd never heard that before. Is that right? Do you just send them like a DM? Should you be texting them? Like, if that's the process, what is the right process?
Yeah, it's always great to get everything in writing just in case, because you got to remember who owns that listing, right? Is it the broker or is it the agent? So if you got something in writing from the agent said that's fine, like a DM or a text message or something, then if the broker came after you, you could say the agent said I was okay. But that's just really good practice. Obviously, if you take a listing and you go, look at this listing, this is so great. This is listed by Equity Real Estate and James Smith. That's great, but best practice would be to get some sort of something in writing that says, yeah, that's fine, go ahead and share it.
Okay, thanks.
And even better is to, because I had a case where agents were texting each other and they were negotiating through text. And when it came down to it, the complaint, text is not noticed. Text is not allowable. So even if you print the text, it's not admissible, okay? So it has to be emailed because it has a timestamp on it, or in writing in another way. So do your best not to use text to have something be solidified as an agreement.
Good question, Jessica. Who else has got anything else they've been seeing or questions they have?
Jen, may I comment?
Yeah.
So I had a closing before Christmas, and when I sent the paperwork over, the offer over, they said, send it to this other person. So I sent it to the other person, and we worked through the contract, and it was a cash offer, and it should have been really quick and easy. And it took like 8 addendums to get it done. And I didn't realize until on the last addendum, I said to her, she asked me how to do something. And I said, you don't know how to do that? And she goes, well, I'm really not an agent. I'm just required to do the paperwork for the company. I'm part owner. And I was just absolutely floored. And thinking back after listening to you guys, I'm like, that builder probably needs turned in along with that agent for not doing their work. I had no clue till the very end.
That's a really good point.
An unlicensed assistant can't do those type of things, right? There's strict rules for unlicensed assistants. So
I should have asked at the beginning, why are we using this other person? But it didn't dawn on me. So dumb me. Might be needing to turn them in.
Yeah, I would say so. It looks like Dennis, or maybe it's Debbie, I'm not sure who's behind that, is asking, what are your feelings about listing agents calling the buyer's mortgage officers to verify the buyer's qualification, even though they have a pre-qual letter? Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
I do. So this is my thought, right? And so this one can go several different ways, right? We all might have a different opinion on it, and a lot of us are going to be right, okay? The feeling is if you have permission from the other agent to contact the buyer's mortgage company, then it's okay. But I do feel you're a little out of bounds by going around the agent and their client to their mortgage company to talk to them. If the mortgage company's smart, they would say, I'm not talking to you because this is that's against RESPA rules and stuff like that. So I think I'm all about chain of command. You go through the right people, the right channels to get the information you need.
I have a follow-up question to that, Steve. So you feel like if you text the agent and say, hey, I'm just gonna, if you're okay with it, I'm gonna call the lender to verify the pre-qual, you feel like that's okay, that's in bounds if you get written permission?
Yeah, even with that, the text comes back, says, hey, it's no problem, right? Because that's not really an agreement. That was just permission. It's the agreement stuff that that gets him in trouble. So permission's fine. And I would do that. I absolutely do that. Hey, do you mind if I verify through the lender? I know we got this, but my client really wants to make sure that it's going to go through. That's all fine.
Thanks.
I must have been doing some bad practices then, Steve, because that's a good point. But I guess I assumed that the lender knew his rules and what he can disclose and what his fiduciary duty is. And so if I called, then they, could say, I can only tell you this, and they can do that. But yeah. I felt like my fiduciary duty was to protect my client. And so making that phone call was okay. So it's good to hear your thought on that.
So here's the thing, Jen. In real estate, right, I'm really good at this. I was really, I don't know if devious is a word. I don't know. But I would, if I called that other agent and I started being nice to them and I started asking them questions, I could get them to spill their guts to me about the house when they shouldn't be, right? There's nothing wrong with you protecting your client and doing the things that you need to do. There really isn't. It's what on the other side are they willing to say? And so I did it. I do it too, Jen. I did it all the time. I would get that agent to tell me all about that house and why they're moving and everything, because it strengthened my client's position. But so you need to be aware as an agent, if other agents are asking you stuff, you'd be like, you know what, I'm really not allowed to disclose that. My client just wants you to know this much. And that's perfectly fine too, because the seller has the right to keep things private. And so yeah, I totally do it too, Jen, that way.
That's a good question. What else do we got out there? What are you guys seeing? I'm seeing a lot of seller finance. People are getting really creative right now. Anybody seeing a lot of those?
Yep.
I would highly recommend, if you get a seller finance offer or you're going to do one, that you run it past Brian Crawley. He is our seller finance specialist. And make sure that, because there are so many legalities in a seller finance, that we want to make sure that you have a second set of eyes on that.
I have a question. This is Brett. So I see a lot of listings on the MLS where the listing agent seems to be intentionally less than truthful or straightforward with their listing. For example, I had one that they said the basement was 90% finished, which my understanding is that means that it's carpeted, painted, walls, and ceiling are all in place. And that's what I've read on the help section of the MLS. But when I've gone into that home, they had all they had done was drywall, which is improvement, but certainly not a 90% finished basement. So I know that we can anonymously report stuff like that. I don't know what happens with those. Is there anything more we should be doing, or is that, with things that are intentionally misleading, or is that about it?
So that's a great question. So when it's still listed and you're not under contract and you go through, it says it's a 4-bedroom house, it's really a 3 and a den and that kind of stuff. That is the avenue that you have to use, is through the anonymous with the MLS, and they will fine them. The MLS has gotten really strict on their fines nowadays, and that's because of there's a company out there that does a lot of billboard advertisement. And so they've really cracked down on how the fines are going to go. So yes, Brett, that's your first avenue, is to do it that way. The second thing, though, is if you didn't notice it until you're under contract, or the property closes. That's a whole different topic, that you were led in one direction to believe it was this and your client was misled. Then that's a whole different thing. Then that's where we have to try to work as brokers to figure it out. That's where shall or may comes into play. And do we sit down and have a little bit of a mediation on it? Or do we just file the complaint and let the division take care of it? Now, that's what happens legally that way. The other thing is the client has the right to then sue civilly and take it to small claims court and let a judge decide what to do.
Can I add to that, Steve?
Yeah.
I guess it's not adding to that, it's just a tip. If you do decide to report anything to the MLS, just make sure it's legitimate. There's nothing more annoying than a listing agent. I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten from the MLS that says anonymous thing, you need to change this or that. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, what are you talking about? So they'll forward it on to the listing agent. And luckily it's anonymous, because you would look like a total idiot with some of the stuff I've been told I need to change. But it's just annoying. So make sure that if it's something, then it's like what you said, Brett, like that would be a legitimate thing if somebody says it's 90% finished and it's really not. But yeah, people overly use that tool in my mind, but they probably use it for the wrong thing. In reality, it probably could be used a lot more often, just not for the silly things it is used for.
In addition to that is sometimes when you go put in a MLS listing and you use the previous MLS, sometimes those will upload results that if you're in a hurry, you will put the wrong results in. And guess who's responsible for that? I've actually seen an agent have to pay for a refrigerator at the end of the day because she had refrigerator on there and she had just uploaded from the previous MLS. And the new sellers didn't have a refrigerator that they were giving away. So she had to come out of pocket with $850 for a new refrigerator. So when you're uploading a listing, go through it with a fine-tooth comb because you are responsible for it. At that point, what you put out on the MLS, you're responsible for. And I know Brett has a great example of a principal broker that put out on the MLS a BAC that was ridiculous. And she did not like the fact that we were trying to hold her feet to the fire on that. She kept saying it was a mistake, it was a mistake. And it was one of those things that we were like, this is your job to verify all the things you put on the MLS. And so your job is to go through all that with a fine-tooth comb.
The number one thing that gets missed, sorry, Wendell, just a sec. When you put in a private MLS, and we all do it that way because it's the easiest way to collect all the data, is the taxes. The taxes change year over year, and that's the number one thing that gets missed. And you as the agent could be liable to pay the difference in those taxes at the sale of the home. Wendell.
Yeah, I was just looking at a listing yesterday, or the past few days, and we did a visit of the home and stuff. On the inclusions, it lists things like some of the major appliances, but then in the remarks, it lists also that the refrigerator and washer and dryer were included as part of the package of the home, but on the inclusions, it didn't list it there. Should it be listed in the inclusions?
Jen, you mind me answering? Okay, so I had a case on this one too, and the attorney, our contract attorney, came down and said, it doesn't matter except for BAC. It doesn't matter what it's listed on the MLS because any attorney can pick that apart. It's what matters is what's listed on the REPC.
Okay.
So it's all based on REPC. It doesn't matter what the MLS shows.
Okay, so if we put in an offer on that house, then we would list as inclusions the washer dryer, the computerized refrigerator, and all that stuff.
Yeah, add it into it. You bet.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
the REPC trumps the MLS. So sometimes, people don't include the washer and dryer in the MLS, but I go in and try and get it for my clients. I put it in the inclusion list. And so if they agree to that, guess what trumps it? They could say, well, we didn't have that on the MLS. Well, you need to read that contract. You signed it saying you're giving the washer and dryer. So,
Yep. I paid for a
trumps.
refrigerator that way.
Yep.
Once, yep.
The other thing I'm seeing a lot of is, oh, sorry, Rod, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just a quick question. So I've heard a few different versions, I guess, about what makes a bathroom. And so one of the Facebook groups here, it is called Ask the Praiser. And he's an appraiser, he's really good. He's closes everything, and I mean he's been a good source for lots of agents. And so I've seen there that some people say that the bathroom doesn't need to have a closet, but then on the to be a bedroom, as long as it is I think it's 70 square feet at least and 7 feet tall, but the closet doesn't need to be there. Is there? But then in the Presidio documents that I read when I signed in, I think there was, or signed up, I think there was something there that said that. I read it kind of fast. So does it need to have a closet or not?
I believe that a real bedroom needs to have a closet and a window.
Did you say bedroom or bathroom?
Bedroom, sorry.
Bedroom.
Oh, bedroom. Yes, a bedroom has to have a closet and a window. She's right.
And
Okay.
it has to be a window that you can actually escape out of, in my experience, right? Like if it's got
Right.
like a little teeny 1 foot window, is that
Right.
illegal, Steve?
It depends on if it was grandfathered and all that kind of stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not necessarily illegal. You get these older homes that
Yeah.
basements have very small windows, and it's not considered current egress standards, but a homeowner doesn't have to bring it to current egress
Right.
because it is grandfathered in.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
My son has one of those. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yes,
even
well,
if it is
Can I just add something there?
Yeah.
I was just recently doing something. I work also for a lending company for a bunch of different banks around the country. And each state is different what they consider a bedroom or not. And according to FHA guidelines, it does not require a closet. It does require the window, but there's not a closet. So I have not looked in Utah specifically, but I can tell you that FHA guidelines do not require a closet.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. So
Can I say something along those lines? When I took the PSA class and the appraiser was in there, what he told us was that it can have a portable closet and not one that's built in and considered a bedroom. But in Utah, they're wanting something. So a portable wardrobe closet would work and counted as a bedroom.
And I've been told the same thing. Like I said, it varies on state. I know that some states are like 70 square feet minimum. They have different things that are there. But yeah, you're right. It's not 70 square feet on the closet, but for the bedroom. But yeah, I believe you're correct. They have to have at least something where they can call it an armoire that could be used. So.
Yep. And that's Utah law. That's all I've ever known is what you just said. I don't know about Lisa's comment though. I've never heard that it can have 2 forms of egress. I've never heard that.
So I have an investor that actually went and looked up the law, and that's what he found was 2 forms of egress. It doesn't have to be a window. It can even be a skylight, something that they can pull people out.
Oh.
That's a good
and he said, according to the code, it doesn't have to have a closet. So I didn't actually see the rule. He just said he looked it up, and that's what he found.
But if
Wouldn't
I
a
may,
doorway be an egress and a window?
So like 2 doors.
Yeah.
A door and a window, 2 doors, a door and a skylight. So but he actually looked that up because we were looking at houses that he was trying to figure out how he could fit it in another bedroom.
if I could say, I just worked with an appraiser. We might want to be careful, even though the homeowner or the seller can list it as a bedroom. It has to have a closet and a window for the appraiser to put it in the appraisal for the lender to be able to accept it that way.
See how there's various rules on all kinds of different things. So, yeah.
Well, it's just people need to look up the actual rule instead of going by what they think they know.
Yeah.
We just had a house appraised in Salt Lake that had like an IKEA closet and a window, and they gave it a bedroom. So it was just totally like secured to the wall. It wasn't built in at all, and they gave it to us. So I know to each their own, but we did get that one as a bedroom.
They will count it if it's like a armoire or something that you can put clothing in. They will count that as a closet.
I've heard it has to be attached to the wall.
I heard it had to be attached too.
I have not heard that.
Well, think of this. A lot of construction companies, they have those flex rooms. They don't put closets in all those flex rooms. And they advertise those as bedrooms as well, on top of offices. Just a
Maybe they
thought.
shouldn't be. I think they call it a flex room for a reason, though. Right? Because it can be
Maybe
multiple things.
maybe we should look this up in the actual code instead of just guessing.
But let me add one more little caveat for you. And this will also depend on your FHA appraiser. There must be a source of heat for it to be called a bedroom. I ran into this recently where there was someone that had remodeled their basement, and they had a run that went all the way down the hall with a heat source that was pushing out, but the two back bedrooms did not have, the run did not go into the bedrooms. They would not include those two bedrooms as, they could not call them bedrooms because there was not a heat source there according to FHA. So he had to deem it open living space, even though they had doors and windows. He would not count them as bedrooms.
Do you think that's because it was FHA? If it was conventional, it wouldn't have mattered?
Yes, 100%.
Gotcha.
On a side note, I didn't see who was talking about looking it up in the rules, but I would just say good luck because I've called them before on this issue and they don't even know what to say about it. This is kind of the best. This discussion is about as good as it gets, and it just teaches us how to be careful. I'll tell you, in the past, when I've listed something as a bedroom that did not have a closet but had a window and was clearly set up like a bedroom, if my clients wanted me to and I talked to the MLS and they said, do it, pretty much they just say do it you think is best. But I would always write in the notes, 7th bedroom does not have a closet. Owner is willing to put one in if you would like to use that as a bedroom. So then you're at least clarifying and you're being honest, and that negates some of the liability. Or you can go the other way and only list it as 6 bedrooms and in the comments say, please note, there's a room that could be a 7th bedroom. We just need to have a closet.
Yep.
Good advice. The only other thing I was going to say was we all have access to homes and with our key fob. And I've seen a lot of agents lately see a vacant home and think that they can go in. And I want to impress on you to know that that is completely illegal. In fact, you can go to jail over it. It is called breaking and entering. Just because you have a key does not mean you can go into a home without permission. So I want to make sure all our agents know that they need something in writing that says it's okay to go through that home during that time, even if it's vacant.
Yep. You'll get dinged for unlawful entry and trespassing.
Okay, well, that is our class for the day. Thank you, everybody, for being on, and thank you for your comments. It's so great to talk to everybody and know that, sometimes these rules are a little bit elusive, but if we have some good practices in mind, like we discussed today, then it'll keep us out of the newsletter. So, and we're going 9 years strong, never had somebody in the newsletter. So we're really proud of all our agents. Okay, go enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.